when I was growing up, I would hear these stories of people who were like really in the life, like they were doing bad things. They were like, this is bad. Probably gonna go to jail. And I heard this story one time. This dude, everybody got locked up, but there was this trap house. In case you're not aware, a trap house is where illicit materials are sold. Sometimes you might say trap house, or there might be someone who's like, so booby traps? Like, is it a trap door situation? Like when you walk in, watch out for the wire, you're gonna fall down to the basement? No, I mean drugs. I mean the buying and selling of drugs. And so this trap house was known for being pretty busy. It had become so busy that they had bought some property, several blocks away and opened up another trap house. Business was booming. Things are going very well. Whenever you are selling so many drugs that you have to buy property, we are entering documentary territory. Most trap houses are really just dudes playing video games until somebody knocks on the door. Like, it's not a busy day. And you gotta stay at trap house the whole time because you don't know when someone might get the itch. And so they opened up another trap house, but this location was not as poppin' for some reason. They must have opened it in a bad neighborhood. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being all drugs, be like, I'm not going over there though, that's dangerous. And so even though they opened another location, and even though they tried to tell people, hey, you can come here or you can go over there, people liked the original trap house. It stayed just as busy as ever, with some business going on at the second location, but mostly it was here, right? And okay. Let's just call him Jerry, all right? And Jerry ran both trap houses. And he did a pretty decent job, kept his books, kept his finances, really, like, he knew his inventory, He could have made a great store manager at any grocery store. There was this dude named Twan, and Twan found out about these very popular trap houses. Well, one popular, one not so popular, right? And he made a plan to rob the trap house, the main one, the lucrative one, right? So his plan for robbing the lucrative trap house was to basically set up a diversion at the one that wasn't as busy. So he basically faked a robbery at the one that was not as busy. He had some guys go over there, bang on the door, act like they had guns, they were about to break in, because he knew it would make everyone call Jerry. Jerry and his boys would go over there. By the time they get there, those guys have already left, and then the main trap house is left defenseless. They break in, Twan and them break in, they steal all this money out of the trap house, right? Take it back to their place. Now their place is a stash house. Stash house should be self-explanatory. If I've lost you at stash house, I cannot help you. But the trap house has been robbed, everything's been taken back to the stash house, okay? And then Twan and his boys thought they had made a killing. They were like, this is great. No one even knows that it was us, because they had planned it very well. They planned it all the way down to the detail of if those guys who did the fake robbery got caught, they wouldn't even know who hired them, right? But Jerry's no fool. Jerry started asking around, and he could kind of tell that some of these guys were lying, some of these guys weren't lying. He traced everything back to Twan. And so he set up a plan to rob Twan's stash house. To go in there and not just get his stuff back, but take the rest of whatever was in there. And his plan wasn't as meticulous. He just sort of ran up in there with a lot of men and guns. Now, what he did do is he waited. He learned the routine. He learned who would be there when. It took months. And then finally, he was like, we're going to do it on Tuesday. They never paying attention on Tuesday. We're going to run up in there. It's only going to be like 5 of them. If it's 15 of us, I don't think we'll meet a lot of resistance. It's not like it's their money. It's Twan's money. And so that's what they did. They broke up in there, went ahead, zip-tied everybody, and took everything, which took several trips. The people at the stash house did have to watch themselves be robbed for quite a while. Imagine you over here, you're not gonna get away with this. Then you think they've left, they come back in the door. Left all this right here. And so then one of them, being new to the lifestyle, being a new, some would say prospect gang member, was so appalled at the theft that when he freed himself, lacking all presence of mind, called the police. This man called the police. It was like they ran up in there, they had guns and everything. They had a gun in my hands. He's telling all this to 911. They took everything. They took the weed. They took all the money. Took my favorite Glock. And, some people were duct taped and everything, duct taped over the mouth, zip tied behind everything. So when, as soon as he called 911, he started freeing everybody else. And as soon as he ripped that tape off, they're like, "What is wrong with you? We got to get out of here now." And so then they all left. They all ran up out of there because the police, catching wind that there was a robbery of the stash house, made themselves available immediately. No, they got out in time not to get caught. They got out in time to see the police raiding the stash house from a few doors down. And that's the thing, is like people say, crime doesn't pay, or like criminals are dumb or whatever, but there are some very smart people who, for whatever reason, enter a certain lifestyle, choose to stay there, or maybe it's all that they know. And if criminals were so dumb, they wouldn't be fascinated. We are fascinated by career criminals. We're fascinated by people who do things that aren't just illegal. They have the gall to try to pull something off that has so many different entry points to danger. Like, just in the past few days, the Louvre was robbed. And I have not been able to settle. This is amazing. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the Louvre or the Louvre or whatever, it's one of the most visited museums in the world, and people go there and then they act like they've been changed by art. And you ask them what they saw, they can't name anything or anybody. They were just like, "No, the Mona Lisa was there, looking unimpressed." Well, there were these robbers that broke in. And they broke in dressed as construction workers, right? They had actually rented this powerlifting vehicle that had a ladder that would bring them up to the next level where they could cut in, because they brought tools to cut in through the window and enter that way. They didn't want to just come through the front. And it made sense that they were dressed as construction workers, because Louvre is under construction. Permanently, I guess. It's always under. Why is Europe never finished? Europe always, all of Europe, always, unless you're out in the country, there's always like, oh, we gonna fix this road. We've been working on it since 1822. But that's y'all's fault. Y'all keep changing the roads. We just, right when we finished the cobblestone, y'all were like, no, it's asphalt now. And so look, they break in, and they break in with these power tools. They had like an angle grinder and everything. And that's when the alarms were going off and stuff. And then they get in through this museum window. And the part of the museum that they're in is where these rare crown jewels are being held, right? They didn't bother with the Mona Lisa. There was a crowd, there's a line. You'd never make it out. People be like, no, I want to see. And people keep, they keep criticizing the security. They keep criticizing the people that were doing security. But those people did approach them. They were like, hey, you don't. you better not. Because what is museum security really supposed to do? Let's be honest. Let's be real. If you work security in any format, they should arm you with as much as it takes to protect what's supposedly valuable. Think about this. When you see someone working for like Brinks, right? And they bring a Brinks truck to do a deposit for a bank. Let's say a whole grocery store is like, hey, we got like $250,000 that we need to transport over to the bank to make our deposit. The bank is like, don't worry, we'll send somebody. They hire Brinks. Brinks comes over. They have a truck. And not just a truck, like a bulletproof truck. And then they get two people. They get two people to make sure nobody knocks you over the head when you're trying to grab the bags and put them in the truck. They get two people, and not just two people, two of the biggest people you've ever seen. Like two people that are so big that it's like, you are the gun, right? And then I think they give them a gun. They always hold in their pocket. Maybe they don't have a gun, but it looks like they have a gun. And they don't give them cuffs because they don't plan on taking any prisoners. And then they get in there, Brinks always handles a drop like they are being robbed. Like they always handle the drop the way a bank robber would handle the drop. Because Brinks, I used to work at a grocery store, and Brinks would come in and they'd be like, so where is your safe, or where do you, hurry. And we'd be like, oh, it's over here. Okay, it's over here, all right. And then the one would get to work putting, the other one just watching us. I'm ringing people up. I'm putting more money in the till. And they were still like, but you might try anything. I don't know you. And then they would leave, and they'd leave all fast. And then they'd run into the truck, throw everything in the truck. And then they would always peel out a little bit, which made me uncomfortable. One time they came and did a pickup, and I was like, y'all sure that was Brinks? Because they were a little squirrely. But then for some reason, there are times where you're supposed to protect, or you're supposed to hold guard of something, and you're giving less and less resources as you do it. Like, you look at a Brinks security guard, and then you look at like a mall cop. They're like, you get one flashlight. I guess shine it in their eyes or something. If you hit somebody hard enough in the head with it, the glass will break. That's something. But nobody gets done dirtier. Nobody gets done dirtier than museum security. Museum security, not only do they give you nothing, no flashlight, they don't even give you a stapler to hit somebody with. They give you nothing. All they give you is a dress code. They're like, hey, just show up in all black, nobody will mess with you. You show up in a black shirt with a black suit jacket and some black pants and black shoes, people think you John Wick. They won't even approach any of the art. Because truly, what is a museum security guard supposed to do? I go to a lot of museums. I try to go to a museum in every city that I do a show, if I can, right? And I've been in these museums, beautiful art. And then you see, you get a little too close, and you see this thing go off, this like little, you don't even know where the alarm is, but like it'll just, that's the too close alarm. Because it's not like a real alarm, it's just annoying, and it goes off until you back up. So if you're a pointer, I go to a lot of museums with pointers. Everyone I take to a museum love to point. It's like we all three again, and they're like, I like the flap. As soon as you hear, somebody works for the museum, comes over, black everything, with an attitude. Could you not? Ma'am, back up. They love that hair. Back up. Give it a little space. Let the art breathe. And you want to know who a museum security guard's arch nemesis is? Because it's not like a grown man. It's not a grown woman. It is any child. Any child will ruin their day. Because I don't know what it is about the frequency of the alarm, but if you're 4, you can't hear it. If you're 4, you're like, I was at this museum one time. This security guard was in a true predicament because this child was out here touching everything. He was touching it to the point that it sounded like their alarm was going off to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb. And finally, the security guard started like chasing his child around, and not like really chasing him, not like Dennis the Menace chasing him, but just like following them around, hoping to maybe this kid's gonna go back up to their parents or something and be like, can you please hold your child's hand or something, because they've been touching everything. Got applesauce on everything. Because as a security guard, what are you gonna do? You can't grab this kid. You can't actually grab this. I know that sounds crazy to anybody who was born in any era before now. You have to kind of let this kid put applesauce on all the art, because if you touch this kid, you've committed murder. So if you snatch this kid and even hold their hand so you can find their parent, you are basically killing them. So you have to like let them kind of do it, but then follow them around, but then not touch them, but then make sure they don't touch anything. It would look terrible. And so finally, this security guard just started running interference on every item. This child was walking up, getting ready to touch a sculpture. Security guard get in there. No. Just trying to box him out of every room. And then finally, this kid, realized what was going on. It felt like it was a game. So this kid is like, oh, you want to play? I love to play. Playing's my favorite thing. Playing's basically my job. And so he running interference. There's a painting. And finally, this kid gets boxed in. And even the security guard's like, I don't know what to do now. Because like, this would be when you would like snatch their hand and be like, hey, is your child not with you in the museum? I might have them. But he was like, doesn't want to touch his kid, but doesn't want the kid to touch anything else, but then is in the corner, but then is also a grown man cornering a child in a corner. Just because you're at work doesn't make it look better. All this kid has to yell is stop, and you going straight to jail. I'm your only witness, and I'm not really here right now. And so this kid boxed into the corner, and you can see kids having fun. Kids over here. Nowhere to go but under. This kid slipped under his legs and ran away. This man turned around. Started chasing after this kid even more, and then the kid went to the only room he hadn't got applesauce on. And was next to this painting. I don't really remember who painted this, but it was a huge, huge painting of a ship in a storm. And it was one of those that was like, it was a marvel because of its scale. You know, so it's not like one that you just hang up and 6x8, whatever. This thing was huge. It took up almost the entire wall, which meant he could definitely reach it. This kid walked up to the painting, and now the whole thing is a game. Touching the stuff's a game, trying not to get caught is a game. This kid's having fun. He thought museums were boring. He's having the time of his life. This kid standing next to the painting. And admittedly, I was also running after them so I could keep watching. I didn't try to help him at all, but I was like, I gotta see the rest of this. Like, what you gonna do? This man gonna run out of breath soon. Security guard gets in the room, huffing and puffing. And he just goes, even the kid for a second was like, ooh, are you? I might have killed a grandpa. I don't even know. And then this kid goes in his pocket and lifts an applesauce covered finger. And I was like, it's been in his pocket the whole time. Children are disgusting. This kid been running around with a pocket full of applesauce this entire museum trip. And then Unc running security goes, don't. This kid, no words, no emotion in his eyes. You can tell he gonna grow up to be a bad person. This kid, applesauce covered finger just went, and so if a security guard is defenseless against a child, what do you expect them to do against actual robbers with angle rods that they just used to break into the second floor window? Because the security ran up on them, no, hey, get out of here, none of that. And then they went, security was like, you know what, let us help you. Everybody out. Everybody out. Everybody get out now. Security made everybody get out but them. Don't you see these men working? Get out. They over here on time crunch. And you over here, ooh, look at the jewels. Get out. In fact, there was a news report that cracked me up. I laughed so hard because the security report, there was this person who, I don't think they were like head of security for the Louvre or anything, but they were basically like, it is museum security's #1 job to make sure that the people are safe, and that's what they did. They made sure the people were safe. I was like, you are changing the narrative right now, because anytime I got too close to a painting and I heard the and then I had somebody come over, it didn't seem like it was for my protection. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were running up, hey, that one, that painting, that wakes up. Don't get close. Please. And so then, robbers start grabbing everything, grabbing these like Napoleon era empire crown jewels, right? They grabbed so much, they grabbed too much. They actually grabbed so much they dropped one. They dropped one of the crowns outside. And this is gonna sound dumb. This will sound dumb, so bear with me because I know it's gonna sound dumb, but I don't think it's dumb, all right? I thought, truly, even when I went to museums, for as many museums as I go to, I've been to museums in Europe, I go to museums here, I go to every museum that I can. I thought for certain that when you see something in a museum, that under certain circumstances is a replica. I can tell by your reaction that some of y'all think I'm dumb and some of y'all think what I thought. I'm telling you right now, when I would go to the museum, I would admire the brushstrokes, I'd admire everything, but I would be like, this is the fake one though. Like this has to be the fake one. And I thought that because if you remember, right before 2020 and even after the pandemic, you would have activists that would go to museums. These, climate activists would go to museums and they just throw like tomato soup on supposedly priceless paintings, right? They would go up to like a Van Gogh and be like, blah, and then they glue themselves to the wall or something, and then they would be like, this is why we did this, and you will have to listen to me for as long as it takes to unsuperglue my hand from the wall. Because people who are climate activists feel like no one is listening to the point where the only thing that will get any attention or like stop people for a second to listen to them is just extreme acts that knock you out of whack. You know what I mean? Just things that you go, what? What? They did what? Why did they do that? And then they get to explain. It's like the better version of canvassing, because they tried to canvass. They really did. Everyone that cares about the climate tried to canvass, and what did you do? You walk by them. They were like, do you have a minute for the planet? And you're like, I'm headed to work, please. I was with a friend one time, and look, I've stopped plenty of times. I can't stop every time. And so they were like, do you have a minute for the planet? And then my buddy was like, nah, we're good, and kept walking, have a good day. And this dude got really bad. This dude canvassed and was like, you on the planet? You don't have a minute for the planet you on? But that was happening a decent amount. There were these supposedly priceless paintings that were getting vandalized, people throwing Campbell soup on them and everything. So then I was like, surely a museum would not allow Campbell soup to get thrown on the real one, like the regular one, because the museum was always super chill about it. The museum, they would like throw tomato soup on a Van Gogh and the museum would be like, stuff happens, we gonna get it off. You gonna what? You gonna get it off? Because when I got close, when I tried to smell the painting, I heard, and then you came over, no smelling. It was get it off, no big deal. Or you would see things like I don't know about you, but the tomato soup that I eat got a little oil to it, and you throw it on oil painting, it seems like it might leave a stain. I have no idea. But then you would see the museum come out and be like, no permanent damage was done to the artwork. And I'm like, how? I've dropped suits that were clear on my hoodie before it had the stain forever. How's this 200-year-old acrylic painting fine? It must be a fake. I used to think that, look, if you go to a museum and you see just like you could touch it, that one can't be real. But if you go to a museum and it's behind glass, that's the real one, because they bothered to protect it. Why are you just bothering to protect some pieces? That doesn't make sense to me. So then in my head, I was like, those aren't the jewels. You know what I mean? That's just colored glass. These people so stupid, they ran up in there and risked their freedom for some colored glass. And then the French government came out and said, priceless items have been stolen from the Louvre. And I was like, that's the real junk! Y'all didn't run any armed security around the real crown jewels? For a split second, I felt like it was my money. I was like, what are y'all doing? Ooh, I need to sit down. You said it was priceless. And then right after saying it was priceless, they were like, it's about $100 million. I was like, oh, seems like a price. You said priceless for a day and a half, and then immediately y'all were like, I think 103 probably. At least round up to 110. And then, in my opinion, museum handled it wrong. You know, they were over here freaking out. Everybody, the French government, they got everybody on it. They got like their version of the FBI. They have the local police. They have everybody on it. They plastered all the jewels that were missing all over international news and everything. If I was trying to save face, let's say I was head of museum security, I was trying to save face, I would come out to the public immediately after the robbery and be like, y'all, that was Banksy. Y'all know Banksy played too much. But this is where I wish that they had done a better job of being creative, being inventive, you know? You've just been robbed, one of the boldest robberies that we've seen. And you are the most visited museum in the world. Why don't you just see this as a W? You know what I mean? Instead of freaking out and shutting down the whole wing and staying closed for a day, all you gotta do is put that tape around the crime scene and make that an exhibit. We all wanna see it. Bring people in. Make the security guards that did do their job, the tour guides, just be like, it was 4 of them. They ran up in here. I was like, hey, get out of here. And they were like, ving, ving, ving. I was like, you right. All right, I'ma go. But I'm telling everybody, and that's why I'm telling you now. And yeah, you can see the glass right here. Take a piece of glass home. You can take a piece of glass home if you want. The jewels used to be right there. That's crazy, right? Jewels used to be just like, and the light used to hit it like that, but then they brought the grinder and they so. But they were real the ones. That's why I'm doing this now, or else I'd be fired. No, it sucks. It does. It sucks because, like, it's just gonna turn museum security into TSA. You know what I mean? Because look, this was, as far as museum security goes, this was their 9/11. So if you think you're just gonna roll up in there and have a good time, that's not what's gonna happen. You're gonna show up and they're gonna be like, all right, shoes off. They all gonna have the wand now. Oh, brutal stuff. You're gonna walk into your local museum. You're not even in France. But there's gonna be that security guard, takes his job extra serious, and be like, you're not gonna get me, not today. Pants down, pants down. No, I got a check. You could have anything. You could have an angle grinder in your pants or something. You know, we have some very expensive cups here. I love a tour guide at a museum because then they'll tell you how expensive something is. And at least with the pottery, maybe this is me not being cultured, but some of the pottery that's in museums, and then they'll tell the story of how the pottery got to the museum, and then they'll be like, you know, this is worth easily $100,000. And I'll be like, nah, it's not. It's not. Like, it isn't. Like, it is not. As much as it is here, it is not worth that. Like the function of is, like it is here, like it exists, like it is. It is here. And it is not worth that. And you know how it's not? I know it's not worth that. I know it's not worth that. Because you had to tell me how much it was, because I thought it was worth nothing. I thought y'all dug it up and brought it here, because y'all were like, this was just in the ground. Isn't that interesting? I bet you people aren't leaning over the register at the gift shop being like, how much was that clay cup? I only have 50,000 on me. Dang. I would have loved that clay cup that looked like a caveman did it. Because I need to be clear here. I'm not just trying to be rude. The one that I'm talking about, it wasn't like some beautiful African art. It wasn't like a Greek pot or something that was painted with a story on it. It just looked lumpy. It just looked lumpy to the point where I was like, even when they drank out of this, there's no way they got the water on a consistent basis. You could tell it's primitive because it looked like a cup that gulps. Looked like it pours when it wants to. Lip of it all uneven and everything. This is $100,000. I'm like, all right. You sure you didn't look at it too fast and add 2 extra zeros? Because I don't think so. There was a guy. There was a really rich guy, apparently. I don't know. I don't know him, but everybody was saying how rich he was. And he got on the Instagram to actually physically cry about the crown jewels being stolen. And he gave this whole speech about how, like, the robbers, because there's this assumption that the robbers aren't gonna be able to just sell the jewels they stole as is. There are plenty of people in the world that would pay the money it would take to sell them just as is, and maybe they just keep it and only they know they have it. But art collectors usually like to show off their collection, and so they can't tell anybody. So it's better just go ahead and maybe melt it down, sell the jewels. The jewels themselves are still very expensive. In fact, you see where throughout history pieces have been stolen. Mona Lisa was stolen before. Pieces sometimes get stolen, but unless you can sell it to someone, what's it really worth? And so there's speculation that already these jewels have been melted down and being sold for parts, or maybe pieces are being sold that might not be able to be traced back to the complete set. And this guy got on social and he was just crying. Dude had to be in his like 50s, something like that, and he was like, is that crying where, okay, you know, it was like the crying you do when you're little, but you let yourself do it again when you get grown if something gets to you enough. Which is crazy, because he went online to cry, but then was fighting the crying. But he's fighting the crying to camera. But then just don't turn the camera on yet. Like, if you, like, let it out real quick and then do your video. You doing the video, like, no one putting the video in your face right now. You doing the video and you, wait, just wait. No one asked for this video. You could wait a day. You could wait till you're over it, or you could just not do it. But this dude got, some people just cry like they choking, and it's just. And then he said a bunch of stuff, and he did say it in French, and I don't speak French, so I'm gonna paraphrase from what everybody said he was saying. But I know he said some of this because a lot of people said he said it, and then I know there's some of it that might be like editorializing what he said, because I don't know if he said that because I don't speak any French. And then also he didn't even say what he said in French well, because he was crying through the whole thing. Like. And look, to be fair, maybe some of that was crying and maybe a little bit of that was the accent. Maybe some of that was the accent, because there are certain people that when they speak French, they do seem upset for no reason, so then that's... It's like, was that a cry or was that one? Were you saying one just now? Were you like, or is that you trying to hold it together? Because that's why you should have waited to make the video. That's a cry. That was not French. That one. And what this dude basically said was that you didn't just steal from the Louvre. You stole from the French people. You stole a piece of our heritage. You stole a piece of our history. And if you melt that down, if you repurpose that, if you sell that, you will burn in hell because you have stolen from the people. And I'm sure, I'm almost positive, I don't know everyone who's seen the video, I just know that I saw it, but I'm sure if you saw that video and you were from Africa or Brazil or just anywhere, I'm sure you watched it and you were like, oh no. Someone stole a piece of your heritage? What are you gonna do? Someone in Sri Lanka is like, not France. No. What are you gonna do? And look, I can understand if you are from some of those other countries, if you're from like an African country or something like that, if you're from Haiti and you see this thing, that you might be like, oh no, not the Louvre. They have our stuff too. Did they steal our stuff? Now it's gonna be harder to find, because that's also what was there. So now, oh no. Someone stole it, you know? I just love the story so much. I love the robbers. Cause look, because they even showed up. They weren't just dressed as a construction outfit. They had on the, you know what I mean, the thing, mask and top and bottom. You know, they were wearing the baklava. I love this crime so much because it feels a lot like somebody that runs a trap house robbing a stash house, and then the person from the stash house is like, we gotta call the police. I can't believe somebody would steal from us. This is unacceptable behavior. We stole all this stuff fair and square. This was ours. And then they took it from us in an act of injustice. Stanford, y'all have been amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I hope you have a phenomenal time.
Did y'all see the Alabama brawl? Yo. Who knew Wakanda was in Alabama? That was crazy. You know, that was wild. So many people came out of nowhere. That shit was like Black January 6th. That was like... That was crazy. If you didn't see the video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain it really quick. Basically, there was this one guy. He was an employee of the place, right? And he was like asking these people to move their boat, you know? So it was a black employee, but he was asking these people who happened to be white that had the boat to move their boat, and they wouldn't move the boat. I don't even know if this part is true, but I heard that the riverfront boat that was waiting to dock had been waiting for like 40 minutes because these people refused to move, right? So finally, he just keeps going, like, you gotta move the boat, you gotta move the boat. They get out of their boat, they're cursing at him, and he's not backing down. He's like, you have to move the boat. I work here. You have to move the boat. And then they just keep cursing at him. Finally, they put hands on him, and then they start fighting him. And he did his best. He held his own for quite a while. So it's not like they beat his ass, but they were clearly ganging up on this dude, right? And, you know, a lot of people, as soon as they saw the video, they got upset. I got upset once. I thought it was going to bum me out, just seeing like 5 white dudes ganging up on this like middle-aged black dude and everything. And some people were upset about the racial part immediately. But I'm not going to lie. I was distracted. I wasn't. I didn't hate these people because they were ganging up on them and they were white. I hated them because they had a boat. You know what I mean? This isn't just a race thing. These rich fucks with a boat are trying to beat up a working class person. Is insane. You know, made me furious. And then they started fighting them, and then like other people came, and you know, a lot of black people already saw what was happening. So then when the riverfront boat docked and other black people who saw what was happening, they all just swarmed. It looked like like that one episode in Game of Thrones where, you know, they were losing, but then just more just came down the mountain. It was like, I was like, God damn, okay, wow. Send in the troops, apparently. I should back up. When the fight started, the initial fight where the dude was getting ganged up on, he just threw his hat. Just threw it, and that almost felt like a signal. That was, as a black person, I didn't know that was our call to arms. I didn't know this was like, oh, okay, all right, we go now. That was wild to begin with. Then it was crazy because then so many people swarmed in, it turned into a huge brawl. And I don't know if you saw a video, but there was one person that wanted to help when they saw him getting jumped so badly that this nigga swam. Jumped in the water. From the camera angle, we don't know where he came from. I'd like to think he came from Africa. I'd like to think he started swimming 6 weeks ago in preparation. Because look, if you know, the history of black people swimming, especially in the South, you know that we're not known for it. You know what I mean? And so I'm not gonna critique his swimming because I was just happy to see another black dude swim. That's just, every one of us swimming is a W, okay? But I do have to comment, because he wasn't swimming normal. Did you see him swim? He wasn't swimming regular. This was not regular swimming, right? This man wasn't swimming to the fight. This man was punching the water till he got there. I knew he was gonna whoop ass when he got out of the water, because he was... I've never seen someone punch water till they got to their location. That was so crazy. Go back and watch the video. This man... punching with horsepower. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And then he gets out of the water, starts whooping ass, everybody whooping ass and everything. So you know that those white people, when it started fighting, then started more fighting, you know they were relieved when the cops got there, but they must have been conflicted, because half the cops were black. Like, that's a situation where even when the cops arrive, you're like, ooh, whose side are you on? Because I was kind of doing a thing before you got here. You know what I mean? Honestly, that's what's so wild. Because I think also, I've tried to put my mind in... I've tried to put myself in the mind of each person that was in the video in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a terrifying thing. To get jumped is a terrifying thing. Then the person swimming. Then I'm just trying to think about every angle that I could think about it from. I'm not gonna lie. That must have been a huge surprise, because you out here ganging up on this one dude with your buddies, and then before you know it, there's just like 50 black people. That's... Listen, I'm telling you right now, let's say y'all just blinked, and when you opened your eyes, there were 50 black people behind me. I'm not even saying you'd be scared, but you'd be surprised. You'd be like, wow, that was fast. That's all you'd say. You know? Because that's the thing. That's, I think, the strangest part. One of the weirdest parts. Like when you start watching the video. Let's say you start watching the video. You had no context. Nobody told you what was gonna happen. You hadn't seen any of the memes yet. The craziest thing about what happens is that, especially as a black person, I think some people are curious why black people have been memeing the shit out of it and everything. It's because if you know the South and you know the history of 5 white guys ganging up on a black guy and how that usually goes, you know, especially when they have enough money for a boat. Usually doesn't turn out well, you know what I mean? And so this was a different thing. This is a different outcome than we've ever really seen before, you know? Because I'll be honest with you. Let's say we're in a different time and there's no camera phones and they were able to leave before the cops got there. They would have just beat up that dude and left, you know? And that's my thing where it's like, okay, yeah, whoop their ass, we all laugh, we all celebrate, whatever, but like, fuck up that boat. Like, fuck up the... What are you doing? Like, bust up the bow or something. Like, rip a rudder out, please. I do think that would hurt them more than the ass whooping. They just be standing there and looking like skippers. Not the boat! You know? I used to work at a grocery store in a bad neighborhood. This is a terrible job. I lived in Chicago and I worked at this grocery store. It was horrible, right? And the thing I hate most about working at a grocery store is not good is the security not good. Because then security, anytime something would happen, the security would walk up to me and talk about what we're gonna do about it. Bro, I do this. You do this. And all right, look, just hear me out. There was a guy who would come into our store, and he didn't come in often. It'd be like once every 2 months, maybe even once every 4 months if you were lucky. But this guy was crazy. And when he came in, he'd come in and he would fuck the lettuce. I know you wondering how, let me explain. It didn't have to just be lettuce, but it was anything he could cut a hole in, he'd go to town, right? I worked there. What are y'all groaning about? I had to see this. And so this dude, man, he would come in, cut a hole, go to town. Security guard come up to me. Security guard came up to me one time and was like, he's back. I was like, that's a you problem. And I don't know. This, like, dude was clearly not all there in the head and everything, but yeah, he would just come in, he'd catch a melon or something like that, and just make juice. Like, this dude was. I know. But a security guard came up to me and was like, he's back, so I'm gonna need your help. I was like, all right, what do you need me to do? And he was like, so we're gonna walk on either side of him, right? We're gonna walk, so he's here, we're gonna walk either side, so we're sort of like, you know, and he was like, I'm gonna need you to run interference. And he said it like it was a real thing. I should know what that means or whatever. Like, and so we get to the point where we're both walking either side of him, and he looks over at me. This dude is distracted. This dude doesn't know what's going on in the world. This dude is fully with the lettuce, right? And locked in. And the security guard go. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, he's acting like he gave me a plan. There's no plan. I don't know what this means. And so he's like, So finally, I just yell out, I'm like, hey, do fucking the lettuce. And that dude turned around and faced me, and when he faced me, I was like, tackle him. And then he did. He tackled him. Got that dude to the ground. And you gotta give credit where credit is due, okay? You do. To the security guard and to this dude, because this dude was so hard when he got up, the lettuce was still on him. That is crazy. I don't know if I've ever been that hard in my life. This dude got up, hands being held. Like, it's not like he can help out for a quick second. Terrifying. I've been thinking a lot about the way that couples fight. Do you know what I mean? Like the way, just the tactics we use, and like, look, I want to be clear. I truly believe this. I've even said it on stage before. Everybody is doing everything. Don't like listen to people getting in your ear. Everybody's doing everything. Everybody gaslights. Everybody, you know, all this stuff like that. So I'm not saying that one thing can only be to one person with one identity. I'm just saying, like, I've just watched, and I feel like I just don't like fighting in a relationship, because I date women, and women wait. It's terrifying. Women will let you think you won a whole fight, and then it's coming soon. And you don't even know what it is. It's not been planned yet, but it's gonna happen. My uncle got in an argument with his wife, and I don't even know what it was about, but must have been feeling himself, because when the argument was done, he'd walk around, man of the house. He middle-aged, so he pulling that belt up a little higher. And sure enough, he called me one day. This is apparently weeks after the fight. My man calls me, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to pick me up. I need you to pick me up, come get me, I gonna need some help, young blood, like I just said. And I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, okay, so we had a little argument, all right? So we had a quick little argument, and I thought everything was fine. But it's the day to take me to the optometrist, because I broke my glasses, and she talking about she not gonna take me. And I told her, I'm like, baby, I'm blind. Come on now. And she over here talking about you don't deserve to see. Like, y'all have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I'm Josh.